Well, hello and welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is James Timmons and I'll be instructing you through today's session. You should be able to hear my voice at this time as well as see my screen. And any problems with either one of those, please feel free to dial the webinar support number at 877-582-7011. Today, we're going to take a look at applique and 3D embroidery and how that's done inside the Willcom Embroidery Studio, the digital edition of the program. When we talk about applique and 3D embroidery, these are two what I consider specialty types of embroidery that's outside of the mainstream regular embroidery design work. These particular designs require more work and should be more expensive than your average regular embroidery design files. Today I'm going to walk you through and show you basically how each of these techniques, at least show you one way of how these techniques are completed inside the Willcom Embroidery Studio software. I'm going to navigate here to our little project for today. As I click here, we have two projects for today. As you can see here with the sizes for these objects, this one here is about 2.25 inches tall. And this design is going to be for a cap. And then we have the 8-inch tall design. And this is going to be something here that we're going to do for an applique. And I'm going to show you how to properly set up an applique for a design something like this inside the Willcom Embroidery Studio digital edition of the software. Right now, I want to go in also, I want to select everything. I have my finished sizes here, my embroidery here already on screen. As you always hear me reference to the importance of knowing and understanding what the finished size of the embroidery is and why that needs to be taken care of immediately, it is to help you and to make sure that there are no problems in the design process, something that will stop production, understanding and knowing what those finished sizes are. This first design here is going to be for a cap design. It is 2.2 by 2.25 inches. Some caps can go higher than that as far as their layout and their particular stitching area. As we look at these designs, I want you to kind of take a look. And also what I want to do is I want to lock these designs on the screen so they don't move. And this means I'm going to zoom out here, rolling my mouse button backwards here to zoom out. And I'm going to just select both of these files here. And I'm going to right click. I'm going to go immediately here to my color object list as I right click. And I want to lock these images on the screen, or I can just press K to lock those images on the screen. You'll see your little lock tab here inside your color object list to the far right. And now I can't touch these designs here now because they're actually locked on the screen. Looking at these designs and looking at the different sizes of them, if I press my number 1 key on my keypad, this is 1-to-1 of the actual stitch out size for both these designs that you're looking at right now. Okay, and taking a look at those, the dramatic size, we're able to go in and do something like this and create the puff foam design as well as the applique for the TAC design. We'll zoom in first here to our cap design. With this particular cap design here, and as we look at this, if you want to get a better visual view of the design, also want to take a look at what would the cap look like. Also, use your software to go in as I navigate down to the bottom here, icon here that's called Product Visualizer. If I left click on the Product Visualizer, you'll see that it opens up my Product Visualizer Docker here on my page. And here, as we go through our products here, I'll scroll down to headwear. And as I scroll down, I can choose the type of design that I want here, and let me choose some options here. We'll choose this one. So it's going to place that cap on the page like this. And I'm also going to navigate over to settings, and I'm going to change the color of the cap here. I can go in and I can make this color, adjust the color here. I can make it and apply to make it white, or I can make it a different color. I can make it an off gray color and just apply it. here on the page, and you'll see how that color here is now applied with the actual design. What you can also do here is you can maneuver the cap here also. As I navigate over, as I scroll down here, I've got some arrows here where I can nudge the cap up or down like this. I can go sideways, to the left, or to the right like this. And so this is just a display for you if you want to get a kind of clear view basically of what this might look like on a cap. This is what this does inside the program here. And I'm just going to navigate up top here, choose File. I want to do a Save As to save this as an EMB file. And here's my design name. As I navigate down here to save, yes, I want to overwrite this. And I'll continue this process until I'm completed this design. Next, as we take a look at this, you have an option here of going in, and you can, because the color here is black, if I want to dim the graphics here, you have a choice here going up top and choosing the little starfish. If I click the starfish, it just dims the graphic for me. I click it again, it brings it back like this. This is what I use because sometimes the colors themselves are kind of overwhelming, depending on how many colors you have in the design. And sometimes I want to kind of simplify that by reducing the colorization here in the file. And here we have our design. And with this also, again, this is a cap design. So I want to go in and make sure that I apply everything that needs to be applied in this particular order here. What I'm also going to do for you today as well is I'm going to go in. I want to place some templates inside the areas here where I need to go in and do what I call trap stitches for the foam. Okay, and the trap stitches, some people, they make them differently. The trap stitches will occur on any areas like you see like this, on an open end like this. This is where the foam can shoot up from underneath the stitches, which is what we don't want. And so I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to select, I'll choose the close shape here. This is just for your view here. I'm going to choose the number 5 color here. And this is in vector format here. So with this, I'm just going to choose for you, I'm going to draw what my trap stitch is going to look like. Trap stitch is going to look like this. Press enter. I want to make sure that it's straight. And I'm going to change the color on it here. I'll go to effects. And this is just for your view here, actually. Okay. Just want to go in and do this. And I'm going to change the color of this. Here, that's the outline. For the fill, I'll make it this color here like this. And this is just for you as a visual to see what needs to be done as far as being able to trap the stitches so that they don't move out of the area and cause a problem by showing the foam. And I'm going to move this down a little bit like this. So I'm going to need to go in and do something like this. And this is what it's going to look like. And then, again, this is the visual for you so that you know what that looks like and why I'm going to go in and do it. Here for this, I'm going to click this here. I'm going to go to my edit drop menu. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to flip it horizontally. And for this one, I can move this down to the other open end here of this column stitch. Just like this. And this is what has to be done. Again, when you're doing the foam, it's very important to go in, and these items here that you see in front of me, as I choose my reshape tool here, I have to make sure that these areas here are blocked so that that foam does not shoot through. And that's imperative. Here also, I can't stress the importance of this. And you having now to look at this visually to see what that looks like, it'll give you a better, or should give you a better understanding of what that stitch is going to look like. And again, why we have to do a stitch like that. Here again, we have other ends here that we're going to be looking at here also with your letter A. And what I want you to think about here is breaking down this letter A into different sections, because this way you'll be able to break it down easier. It'll also be easy for you to break the design down in forms of using the puff foam as well. And for this, I'm going to, again, go into my drawing tool here. I'll change the color here. And I'm just going to draw a line. Here is the letter A here. You got a line like this. Let's make this red. This is what that looks like as I go into my reshape mode. I'm going to right click this and duplicate this so that these are exactly the same like this. And I'm going to select both of them here. And I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to duplicate these. And I also want to flip these horizontal so that I can use my arrow key at 9 o'clock to move this over. Just like this. So this is so these two are the same. Here we also have this particular area here. Now here's where you decide where the foam is going to have to be shut off here. As far as going in here, you have these sections here. And the way that this is going to be digitized, it's going to be digitized like this. As I go back in here, I'll choose my close shape item here. So when I digitize this crossbar, this is what I want you to visualize, because it has to be done like this. And this is what it's going to look like as I click save. For you, this is the visual that I want you to see before I actually go in and digitize it, because I want you to get a clear understanding of what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. Here also are areas where you have to define where the trap stitches are going to be on these particular areas here also, because for these areas here, you're going to also have to have some kind of trap stitch to close that foam from coming in also. And so I may need to go in, again, I'll choose my close shape and I'll change my color here like this. I decide what stitch angle this is going to have to go in order for me to complete this like this, eh? So I'll go in and then to the bottom of this like this. And I have a fill area like this. And this is what that's going to look like on the bottom of this to keep the foam from going out like that. Again, edit, duplicate, because it's just going to flip over like this because I want everything to be the same. And I'm using my arrow key at 9 o'clock. So I'm going to make this straight across just like this so that there's no chance of it being in a different location here. So I'm lining it up exactly where it should be here, just like right there, just like that. And also up top, you have open areas up top of the letter A here, like you see like this. And the same thing is going to have to take place here also with me going in and selecting that object like this. Now for this one here, as I navigate up top, again, this is just for visual viewing here of these particular areas. And right now, when I click on my reshape tool, the idea is for me to go in and make sure that this, when it goes in and does this, it's up to the digitizer whether they want to do two of these by making this one and doing another one here. If I were to press escape here and I'm going to go up top here and change my measurement system, if I measure this, it's 11. Okay, that's a very long stitch, too long for a regular machine. So you get to decide basically here now how you're going to go in and do this. Do you want to do 2 separate stitches on this? Or you're going to take this 1 stitch and run it all the way across? Okay, and it's going to be up to you how you do this. I'm going to select this here like this. And it's up to, again, the digitizer, how they're going to go in and do this. And splitting it in 2 is one option to go ahead and do this. Or I can try to do it in just one shot by taking this all the way across like this. And based on how this works, I mean, this is a possibility that it might not work, and I'm gonna have to change this later on. And I have that in the back of my mind going forward with this. As I select these areas and move these in like this. And making sure these areas here are going outward like this, so when it stitches that area, that they're moving out, and it stops any chance of the foam moving to the outside as I click save. Right click and drag these areas like this. It's faster doing it this way. Sometimes when you go in and you're setting up these particular designs here, I'm going to move this in here also. And this also, when I select my reshape mode, it's going to have to be moved in closer, just like this. And this is, again, guys, is a area here where I'm going to have to open up this like this to make sure that the foam does not go through or slip through this opening. Up top here as well, you have areas here. I'm going to right click on this here and drag this over, do a quick clone of it like this. And for this also, I'm going to navigate up top. I'm going to rotate this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. Place this right there, slightly to the outside. Edit, duplicate this, mirror it. Do the same thing on this side also. This is the, or will be, the areas where the foam will shoot out of the bottom of the stitches if you don't go in and you don't secure these areas right off the top. And I'm going to go to File. I'll choose Save Design. Here's my file here. As I select this, and I'm going to save this. Overwrite. At this point now, with this design, I've got all the areas that I need kind of siphoned off to keep the foam inside the stitching area here for this design now. Also at the point now, I can start digitizing for this area. And keep in mind also, you see the preparation that I do before digitizing a design. What happens is you get faster at doing this in preparations for your designs. The more that you do this, trust me, you get much more faster with it. Once you do that, that preparation time gets smaller. It's prepared now for you to start digitizing. This is for a cap. So for the cap, we're going to start from the center. From the center here also, we're going to start stitching here from the bottom, and we're going to go up to the left and then to the right. This is based on the digitizer's decision. Going from right to left will work also. Is every design that you digitize going to be as simple as digitizing it from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock and center out? Of course not. That's impossible because we have so many different design layouts. There could be 1,000 of them, more than that. And so sometimes it won't be applicable to do it that particular way. Here I'm going to go in first. We have our little fill here, and we're going to do this in the tatami stitch fill. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in, and I want to notice here also, this is the seam here of my cap. It's very important to know what type of garment that you're stitching on, so you can know that if you need to go in and do something different, you're going to do something different. In this particular case here, by me saying what is different, I'm going to go in and I want to stitch a zigzag stitch underneath this along the seam of this cap here. And I can go in, I can choose, I'll choose column B stitch. and I want to choose the zigzag stitch here like this. And I'm just going to go in. Then go to side 2. And this is based on the actual cap that I'm going to be stitching this on. Okay, here this is a very wide stitch here, and for this stitch, being it is a zigzag stitch, for the spacing for this, if I go 1.0, it's going to open up that spacing here like this. I also want to go in, I want to do a split here because it's so wide. So when I go in here this time, I want to change this to a satin stitch like this, because I do want to go in with the satin stitch. I'm able to go in and change this split, so I can split it like this. And at least now I'll be able to go in and set this density here. I can do 300 like this. It is a looser density for this fill area. And I just want to fill this area in here to cover this, as I want this to cover the little bulge here in the center of this cap. Okay. And I can't do this on the A because it's set differently, as you can see where it's positioned here on the A. So I can't do this exactly, but I can do it here. And so once I've done that, now I can go in and I can choose my tatami stitch fill, and I can go in and I can digitize this right from the inside like this, where I have my fill. So press enter, have a starting point and an exit point here like this, and a stitch angle. And I want to change that stitch angle here. I want to make this stitch angle look like this. My starting point here and my exit point here at the top, just like this. Once that's done, the next step here is to go in, and I want to make sure that I measure and get the border around this correct. So I'll press M, I'll zoom in 1.6, we'll get maybe 3.5 or 4 millimeters. So I'm going to right click here now on my column C stitch and make this 4 millimeters. That's my new default. And now when I select this and I go to my simple offset tool, it should be at 0 because it should be directly on the line. And I want to choose the column C stitch like this. Goes in. It's up to you whether you want to leave this the way that it is here, or you can go in and you can adjust this by taking off the corners. All depends on how you want to work that. As I go back to effects here, so you can change this to 3.5 if you want. You can always go in and you could reduce this. It's up to you how wide you want that column to be in this particular design here. Next step here is I've got that done. I've got my little stitch here, and I just want to make sure that when I select this here, don't want to overstep the boundaries. Move these in like this, and this is just if you want to tackle this way, guys. Exit point here, press tab, starting point, exit point there. Press D to hide the stitches. Starting point, exit point here like this. Press D, show the stitches again like this, and I'm going to click save. For the underlay setting for this, I'm going to go in and set up my underlays for my tatami stitch fill. I'm going to my underlay settings. I should have a edge run underlay stitch with a tatami underlay cover like this. And I'm going to click save here like this. All right, and here I can select this and choose my color yellow like that. And I've got the color there now. The next thing that I want to be able to go in here and do now is going to digitize the lettering here for the foam. And by going in and doing it this way, I'm able to go in and create this design, stitching from the center out now. So now I'm directly going in and begin digitizing this from the center out here. You decide where you decide where you're going to go next. If you know that you want to do the C next, it's good to try to start digitizing this from an area where you can digitize it and come back and then begin to see in this particular area here. So the first thing I want to do, I have these areas here for the foam, and I just want to go in and add a running stitch to these areas as I navigate up top like this. I'll change my color here also. So I want to exit over here. So I'll start my zigzag stitches right here just to cover this area. I'll go over to this side like this and do those. And the next step here, I'll go in and I'll choose my column B stitch and I'll start digitizing this crossbar here, just like this. Notice how I've already got the template up. So for this, it's pretty much just guiding me and showing me what needs to be done and how that needs to be digitized like this. What I'm also going to have to do with this density setting here for this is I'm going to have to go in, I'm going to have to adjust the density setting. Normally we'll use like 80% for regular digitizing, but when it comes to puff foam, this is going to have to change. So this is going to, I'm not going to use the auto spacing for this. I'm going to go directly to the user defined spacing here. And this is used mainly for quilting patterns and things like that. I'll make this 15 really tight. And notice I'm going to undo this, see how it looks now, and redo it. It does that. What's going to also happen with this, the underlay settings, when I navigate here to my underlay settings like this, I'm only going to do an edge run underlay stitch. For this area, I'll leave this just like it is as I click save. It's going to save this. And now this area here, I'm going to have to use a run stitch because I'm going to end up in this particular area. So I'm going to have to choose my running stitch to run up top like this. Press my space bar, and here I'm going to go in and do my first trap stitch. And with this trap stitch here, I'm going to go in and do this. Again, you can go in and do this by going in and doing the whole area first. I go here and start doing it here where I go to this one, take this all the way across like this, and go in and then do the top portion like this. Notice how easy it is because the graphic is already showing me exactly what that should look like. And again, for the density setting for this, it needs to be tighter. So I'm going to right click here, this one. I'm going to uncheck the auto spacing and make this 15. It's got to be tight. Once this finishes, I'm going to run down to the bottom of the A like this. And I'm going to go in and digitize this area. Just by going in, I'll use my column A stitch like this, and I'll digitize this trap stitch just like that. Again, the trap stitch itself basically is going to be very tight as it goes through this, and I'll change this here to 15. Notice this is a different setting, like I mentioned before, than what you would normally use for regular digitizing, and that's why this is so important. I have a question here. How do you avoid the edge run from looping inside when the column is sewn? Now with the edge run, one thing that I do in order for me, like right now for this setting here, I've had to do a travel stitch here. I've had to do another travel stitch going down. This is to secure the trap stitch for this particular area. I'm still going to have to go in and do an edge run underlay stitch. You want to make sure that you want to try not to have a stitch going down the center of this like this. You want to make sure that you have an edge run underlay stitch, or you'll see me when I digitize this, I won't go directly to the center. You'll see me going out to the edge of it like this. So that when it stitches and it goes in, making sure that you place the starting and exit points in the right locations is going to help you control that even more so. Like right now for this, when I go here now and I'll choose my column B stitch, at this point here, I'll go in, I'll select this, I'll start right here, right on my line. And as I go up top for this one, I can stop that here, press S. Here's where that's going to end. And I'm going to press enter. And that means that I'm going to have to go back now to the bottom of this right here. And this is why I do guidelines, because they help me immensely when I'm digitizing, to where I'm not having to go back and think twice about whether something is straight or whether it's the right location or something like that. And so this is what that looks like. Now the next step here again, making sure where the starting and exit points are, using not the auto spacing, but the user defined spacing to change that, and use the edge run underlay stitch only for this one. Now, what I want to do here as well, when I use the edge run underlay stitch here for this, I want the length of that running stitch to be 1 millimeter. I want it to be short. That's going to help perforate the foam. For this one here also, I want this to be 1. That's going to help perforate the foam. For these trap stitches here, I don't need any underlay stitches for these trap stitches here. I'll leave them just like they are, because their main purpose, you can use a single if you want to with this, but this is for the main purpose of keeping that fabric, keeping that foam inside this area here. As I zoom in, you can see the slight indentation here of that last stitch versus where the trap stitch is located in this particular area. And just understanding and knowing how that works is going to help you immensely. Now here, when I go in, I'm going to choose my running stitch. With the running stitch here, I want the exit point to be right here. Where you place that exit point is important, because where I start stitching this next area here, these two areas here, they're the same. These two legs here are the same. So I should be able to select this one, go to my edit, choose duplicate, and just flip it horizontally. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel when it's already there for you and you're looking at the designs. If anything that's going to be the same, you shouldn't have to go in and digitize it twice. What also needs to be done, if you paid attention closely, I did something that could have been avoided. So I'm going to select this, click here. I didn't do my trap stitch. So with this trap stitch, I'm going to have to go in. I can select the object here. Here are the two lines that were done for that. And I'm just going to duplicate those. Edit, duplicate, use my arrow key at 3 o'clock and move those over like this. And you can do it manually if you want to, that's fine. For me, I'm just going to go in and just duplicate it. And I'm going to flip it horizontally like this. So when I go over in this particular way here, it's going to end up in the same location on this side as it is on the other side, like this. Here, all I got to do now is select this running stitch, go to my reshape mode, it ends right there. Now I can go back here and choose this guy, go to my edit, I can duplicate this, right? And I can flip this horizontal like this. And as we're looking at this is much easier for me to go in and do it this way because it's faster. One, I've already got the trap stitch in there. And for the top of this, all I got to do is go in and select this icon here and just move this over so that it's straight like this. And I can end this on the top here, just like that, because it's stitching from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, just like that. I'm going to click save. Areas like this are always kind of tricky when you have more than, like the C is easy and the T is easy because the T only has two sections here and the C only has one. So with this, you go in and trim, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to select this as I go in, digitize this from the top like this, do my trap stitch just like this. I press enter. It is so easy to have a template to digitize from when you're doing things like this. This here, I'm gonna, this 15. As I select this now, my exit point there, I'm gonna run. Just like this. Stop right here. And I've already done this one. Edit, duplicate, flip it horizontally, and go down like this. Making sure that my starting point, this one here, as I move this, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to click save here like that. Now I can start digitizing. You want to make sure too, this, because I have the closest join turned on, you want to make sure that the exit point for this goes where you want it to here. I'm going to move this back up to the top. With the closest join automatically turned on inside your software, it's going to automatically move the exit point to the closest position to where the closest stitch is, like this. When you're doing the foam, you may have to go in and move these back to the original locations because you don't want this exit point to be in another location. And now when I look at this again, I'll go in, I can choose my complex turning, the satin stitch like this. As I look at this, I'll go in. These are pretty simple. Just one object, and as you go through this, just like this. Enter, enter again, entry point here, and I want to exit here. I'll just go in now and do my stitch angles. Straight here. Controlling the embroidery machine. This one, 2 and 3. 1, center, 3, and straight. As I press enter, I'm going to go to my reshape mode, and this should be a straight point. So I'm going to select that circle and press my space bar to make that straight like this. As I click save, these stitches here, The width on these is good. Anything that's under 8.5, 9 millimeters, I'm good. So I'm using this is 9.6. This is fine as long as it's not 10 for the width of these actually here. So when I select this, full comp setting here, it's at 0.2, which is okay. That's fine. The C is finished as I click save. Now we go to the T. And here with the T, we'll start here at the top. This is the direction we're going to be going. So as I select this here like this, I'll choose my zigzag stitch here like this to kind of lock this down. And I'll go straight down like this to the bottom. Here I got my trap stitch here as I press enter. Trap stitch is to keep the foam inside, is what it's for. So select this here. No auto spacing here. User defined spacing here at 15, like this. And then I can go in and do my satin stitch. Just like this. So I go straight up, just like this. With the density for these, the density is going to be much tighter at 0.15 for the C. Same thing here for this area here. Take away the auto spacing, and I'm going to use the user defined spacing like this. And with these areas here, the density setting for those are going to stay just like they are, just like that. Once I select this, I see where my exit point is here. I want to end over here, which means that I got to start digitizing over here also because I have to run. So I select my pick tool, and then I'm going to choose my running stitch. I'm going to run to this side first. Press enter, go in, just like this. These areas here, once this is done, I'm going to run, oops, clicking too fast. Pick tool, I'm going to run. Let me click off of it first this time. See, sometimes even I'm moving too fast. Like here, I can select this one. I can go to edit, duplicate, and flip this horizontal like this, and just slide this over. It's the same as the other side. Why should I have to digitize it twice? It's a simple shape, so I definitely could have done it. But for this, I just want to go in and just keep it the same as it is on the other side. Just like that. And last but not least here, my cover. So I press enter. Just like that. I select this here, no auto spacing, user defined spacing. Underlay stitches for these, edge run. I want to perforate that foam. Same thing for this guy here also. Underlay, same for this one here also, making sure that everything is uniform. It's one, one, one. All right. So with this, and at this particular point now for this, I just go in, click, and change my color, and save this. Once the bottom portion of this stitch is out, you can stop the machine and then place the foam down. Is what you can do with something like that, with this particular design here actually. Right now, I'm going to run this. Let's hide the graphic here or the image here by going up top. I'm going to hide that. And I don't need to see the vector. Don't need to see the bitmap. And let's run this stitch player. And this is how our design is going to run. Just like this. It's about controlling the embroidery machine. Totally. As you can see, the edge run only goes along the edge of the stitches here by me controlling it and by me making sure that those starting and exit points are in the right locations here. For this one, the exit point for the C has moved to this location here, and I'm going to have to change that. Again, that's the closest join. See what happens here? And this is why that area stitched the way that it did actually, is why I'm going to have to go in and move that exit point to where I originally placed it, because it went to the shortest distance to the T, and that's why it changed the exit point for the C. And this is what you have to be very careful of and watch if you're digitizing for puff foam. Here, I'm going to stop this here. I'm going to click on that C, go to my reshape mode, move the exit point to where I had it before. When I go in, I'll let you see why I did that in the first place. And so here, as it goes in here, and I'll move this back. Watch this. It goes here like that. I want the exit point to be at close to 12 o'clock if possible, to make sure that everything is in place. And because I moved it, you can see clearly that it's now where it should be before it starts to stitch the T. Just like that. All right, that's our first design. Next, let's take a look at, I'm going to click on our bitmap here and the vector. At this point now, we have a new design. And with this new design, I'm going to see how much of this one that we can use for this. So as I select this here, and I navigate on this side, I think this was like 8 inches tall. So I'm going to change the height here. Let me navigate up top. Change this to 8 inches, 8.0. And this is, I think, a little bit larger. I'll just pan it out like this. And this is the beauty of being able to use the EMB file. How do I know it's an EMB file? You click on your design information. Here you have your design tab. This should be a grade A. What you never want to see here is a grade D as in dog. That's what you never want to see here. Should be an A or a C for the DST file. So with this now, let me click save. Now at this point now, this is going to be an applique. For this, let me go in. I want to take away the bitmap and the vector here. So this is a different animal here, okay? With the stitches here, as I go in, if I measure these stitches here for the borders, they are way too wide. Almost 12. So that's not going to work this time for this particular design. We can go in, click on this border here, and I can actually get rid of it. with this, I have a choice because I know that when I go in and I do the border, I can do a border width on this about maybe 6, 7, 8 millimeters wide for the column stitch on this. If in fact I'm going to use an applique to do this particular part of the design here. Anything here is also with the T. I'm going to click on anything that I don't need. And so all of the under stuff that we did prior, we don't need those items anymore. Don't need this one. Don't need that. Don't need this or this. Don't need those bottom fills. This is going to be an applique now. So we take out everything. Oops, not that one. Everything that we don't need. Oops. So I press my reshape tool like this. This is everything that's going there. And I'm just making sure that I'm selecting the right thing. That's the fill area. Don't need this one. Don't need that one there. Don't need this one. So all these areas here that I had that I needed before, you can see to me now they're totally useless. Okay, I'm going to click save here like this. Being able to go in and use the applique feature to do these areas now on your fills is going to take creative thinking. What I mean by that is this: all these areas here now, they should become just one object now. So when I select the T like this, I want to make it one object. And I can do this by navigating down here to my shaping tools at the bottom. If I choose my shaping tools here and I click this weld, it's going to weld that together. Another option would be to go in and do a combine on it and to see which one is going to actually fill it in. So right now, once I select these two like this and I choose weld, it's going to make this one object now. And it looks like this now. And I'm also going to go in, I'm going to right click on this, go to convert. I'm going to convert this to a complex fill and press enter. And what I can do with this also, I really don't need a fill area even in here right now. So with this, and I'll do this, I'll do everything at once here. But let me do the A next. I'm going to weld these together. This is before, this is after. Now it's one item, and the C is one item. I don't need to, I can still do it from center out, but watch this. I can also select all three of these. I can click on the bottom here on my vector tool to change those all into vector objects now. And when I navigate up top to turn back on my vectors, you can see that they're vectored now. They're not like they were before, which means that I can go in and click on all of these vector objects here that I had before. I can select these, go down, and select all of these, and I can delete these. Some of them I might want to keep. Hold on. Let me lock this on the screen real quick. And I'll go and I'll select these and delete these individually like this. So whatever I don't need, it just takes it out like this. And this is the beauty of being able to use the EMB file inside the Wilcom software in order to go in and do this. Priceless. Here now when I go in, these items, and whatever I unlock, I don't need both of these. So I'll get rid of one. I'm going to click save. And with this design now, I've got pretty much everything that I need with this. If I need to go in, if I need to make the diamond here on the bottom, if I need to make this wider, I could go in and just use my measure tool. I'm going to go to view and choose, and I may not even need to do that because I am going to put a border here also. So with the digitizing now, you get to decide if you want this to be a fill stitch here, what part of this that you want to be an applique here also. So this is up to you. Looking at this one here is like 4 inches. So let's do this. I want to go in and I actually want to fill this in with stitches. So I'll use a fill stitch for this item here. I don't need this center. That was for the cap. This is for an applique. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to right click here on my column C stitch, and I'm going to also change. I can make the border 6 millimeters wide, or I can do 7. 7 is better. So now when I select the border here with the fill, and I navigate over and do my simple offset tool, here when I choose my satin column C stitch like this, it adds the border around the outside of this. And again, it's up to you whether you want to use the corners here or not, but totally up to you how you want to do that. I'll leave them on. And you can change those when you get the file. I'm going to click save. So that particular portion of this is done now. The next step here is I want to go in, I want to create an applique with this, and I can create that applique by selecting. I'm going to lock that on the screen. I'm going to select all 3 of these. Here's your applique tool inside your software. Here, as I selected it, it automatically selected the A first because that's what I digitized first. It wants an entry point, so I'm going to use my entry point here and my exit point there also, and the frame out position where the machine stops right there. It goes to the C next, entry point, exit point, frame out. Now the T, entry point, exit point, frame out, like this. So with this now, I've got, take off that. So I've got now 3 appliques here that I just quickly went in and did. You saw that I went in to create these appliques, and I'm going to select these appliques here. I don't want that border around the outside of it, so I took the border off that curve, or that line there actually. With this particular design now, we have appliques, but we're not finished yet because we have to go in and prepare the applique for embroidery. And you also may get into a point here where, so now because it's an applique, you may have to go in and try to shift some things around a little bit here also, and spread some things out like this here also, because now it's an applique and you want to have a little bit of space, and you get to be a bit creative when you go in and do something like this. Once I go in now and I want to set up my applique for this run, I'll choose all my applique pieces here. And I'm also going to go to my effects, and I'm going to go to special. I have under specials here, as I select all these, I have applique in my Docker window here. Here's where you tell the machine what to do for production. First thing we're going to have is that guide run stitch here. You have to decide whether it's going to be a trim in place, whether you just have one of these to do and you're going to cut these out by hand yourself, or you're going to send it to a cutter. You would choose the pre-cut for this option here, basically. So we're going to use a pre-cut here. It's going to go in there and do the guide run stitch. We have to tell the machine what to do after it does the guide run stitch. I want the machine to stop, so I'm going to click stop. Once the machine stops, I'll place my fabric down, and I'm going to press start. It's going to go in and stitch the tack down stitch, which is going to be a edge zigzag for me. It's going to lock that fabric down so it doesn't move. It's going to go in and run this cover stitch for this. That's 1. If I make this 7, I can make the undulate for this 5. I've increased the width of the satin stitch here, 7 millimeters. And after it does the zigzag, I don't want a stop, nor do I want a color change. I want none. And as you can see here, it removed the machine functions out of the design at this particular point here. Now I can go in some of these areas that you see here on the A. I can go in and I can adjust those corners here if I need to. And I could always go in and make changes to this independently also in this particular area here of the design. But right now, just for the sake of having to be able to stitch this in this particular area here and have this stitch out completely here, you decide for this if you need to go in and move the C out like this, you can move the C out. But then you also have to go in and adjust the diamond here also if you go in and do something like that. And that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to click save here for this one. I'm going to go in and I'm going to run this applique and show you how this is going to work now in production. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose the stitch player again. I want to go in also and I want to click here and I want to see where these stops are in the design. So I'm going to move this over. So as it finishes stitching the fill area here, which I'm going to have to go in and move the exit point to the end again. But here, just so you can see how that works, it's going to fill everything in here, underlay stitches, everything, border stitches, to complete the bottom portion of this now, because now it has become an applique. And now here's the first applique. There's the mark out line stitch in the inside, and the frame moves out and the machine stops. That's what this is here. And it's telling you here on the bottom that there's a stop right there. It's telling you right to your face right there. I lay my fabric down. I press start. Goes in, does the zigzag stitch to lock the fabric down, and then it does the cover stitch like this. And this is how you can control the embroidery machine in the production process, as far as going in, telling it what to stitch and when to stitch it, or something like this. Awesome applique feature inside the program. It's incredible. There's the C, there's the mark out line stitch, and machine stops. Put your fabric down, go. Zigzag, then your cover stitch. Once again. Once that's complete, the T is last, does the mark out line stitch, moves up, the machine stops. Place your fabric down, press start. Goes in, and it does the zigzag, and it does the cover stitch, just like this. As I click save, it's going to do it for our class today. Do I have any questions? It's my pleasure. We'll be doing some more of these classes too with the appliques, guys. I just wanted to show you what can be done inside the software. These designs that we did today are not regular designs. And when you're doing these designs, they should cost more because of what you have to do in order to get them to run for production. And I just wanted to share that with you today. If you have any questions for me, guys, you can always shoot me an email, support@willcomeamerica.com. In the subject, put attention, James. We ask you also visit us at willcom.com as well as willcomeamerica.com for tons of information and documentation for you, knowledge-based information as well, and updates. So guys, thank you so much again for your time today. I will see you in 2 weeks, actually, I think. I think our next class is on the 11th of November. I will get this recording out to you guys also as soon as possible. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for your patience with me today as well. Always, guys, thank you. Happy digitizing. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.